Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. And tonight, the most exciting Glazov gang yet guaranteed. Our gang members this evening: Jennifer Serrano, the newest California PolitChick. Dwight Schultz, he is temporarily not losing weight, and he enjoys squeezing plump grapes in Vineyards. And Tiffany Gabbay, the National Development Director of the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Glazov Gang members, welcome to the Glazov Gang.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
This is going to be a very exciting show. We have two new gang members. And Dwight, we haven't told them, tell them the rule about the show.
Yeah, I was very disappointed last week when Anne-Marie and Brittany gave in and actually repeated what you wanted them to say. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm not going to repeat this trite rule that you have set for this show.
Okay, ladies. The rule. Do you know the rule about the Glazov Gang?
We don't.
Okay, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never
Leave.
Exactly. Okay, and what song is that?
Hotel California.
Excellent.
Eagles.
So you're in the Glazov Gang for life. Okay. Does this excite you or scare you a little bit?
A little bit of both.
It scares me.
It scares you.
Yeah.
Do you feel a little bit tricked?
Yes.
Yeah, in a good way.
Oh, okay, good. But it keeps a little bit of mystery in the air. Dwight, do
You understand a lot about tricks.
Okay. Now moving on to very, very serious matter. Not that that's not a serious matter, but we're talking about on the political international scene. Incredible news. Morsi has actually been overthrown by a coup. And little surprise, big surprise, Obama is weeping, now all of a sudden threatening that aid might be taken away since the Muslim Brotherhood was overthrown. But back in the day, we know that he was telling Mubarak that he had to go. But when Morsi consolidated power as the Muslim Brotherhood, Obama didn't do anything. This is all very strange stuff. Dwight, let's begin with you. What do you make of the developments?
Well, it's consistent with what he did during the Green Revolution in Iran. This president has done everything that he possibly can do to destabilize the United States. That is what is consistent about what he does. So you should be able to anticipate how he's going to react. You should be able to anticipate it. Look at the number of Muslims from the Muslim Brotherhood that have been brought into the White House and into the administration. Look at the number. And when American members of Congress bring the question up, what are all these members of the Brotherhood doing in our government? Well, first of all, Obama never has to answer the question, but they are shut down by other members of the American Congress who somehow have been influenced by this president. But it is there is no question about it, that if it destabilizes and denudes the power of the United States and influence, Obama will be behind it.
Dwight, are you surprised that this has actually happened? There's a few things here. The Muslim Brotherhood's actually overthrown. Some democratic forces behind this, yes, but there's also extreme Islamists that are unhappy with Morsi.
Yes.
And now if there's a new election, what do you think will happen? Is it too good to be true that there could actually be some kind of liberal replacement or secular
I don't know that
replacement?
that's going to happen. I believe civil war is perhaps more likely. But some of the events, some of the information that has come out recently, for instance, Wally Shubat talking about the tape or the cell phone tape of those who killed our ambassador in Benghazi, saying Morsi sent me. This sort of thing. I have a feeling that Morsi has threatened also Obama and other members in the State Department. There are too many things going on that we don't know about.
Well, there's a lot of Muslim Brotherhood in the administration, as Frank Gaffney has documented in the Muslim Brotherhood in the Obama administration. It's a pamphlet at the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Get it. Tiffany, What do you make of the developments?
Well, I will say one thing about the Muslim Brotherhood, to go back to that. A lot of people don't realize that they really are the grandfather of all Islamic organizations, and every other Islamic organization, even the most seemingly innocent ones, for example, your local Islamic council, which isn't really functioning as a mosque per se, but more of an Islamic cultural center, those are typically funded and run by the Muslim Brotherhood or Muslim Brotherhood operatives. CARE, ISNA, the Muslim Students Association, so these seemingly innocuous groups are really all part of the Muslim Brotherhood. And then, of course, the Muslim Brotherhood is actually the grandparent of Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, all of them.
Yeah, I think they were all mentioned in the explanatory memorandum.
Exactly, that
grabbed,
was
right?
uncovered during that raid. And
all front groups, right?
All front groups. And what else was uncovered during the raid was that the Muslim Brotherhood released this manifesto, Civilization Jihad, in which it laid out its plan for establishing a global caliphate. Obviously, the United States was one of its first targets, and slandering Islam, again, was on their list in terms of one of their first crusades, which we know, with what happened in Benghazi, they were trying to blame it on this low-rate YouTube video, and we obviously know that that was a ruse.
Sorry
but
for
it all
interrupting,
ties
Tiffany.
together.
Now, and how are you tying this together to what's happening in Egypt?
Well, no, that was just a comment relating to the Muslim Brotherhood and just how influential they are, because they really are in every aspect of life. When we want to know why or how are they involved in the administration, it's because all of these different special interest groups or even your local Islamic council is really Muslim Brotherhood
infiltrated
affiliated.
the society, the government, everywhere, and it explains that when the F-16s and the aid is going to Morsi, Obama says, well, they need it. And then all of a sudden, when the Muslim Brotherhood is thrown out, now all of a sudden, Egypt doesn't need it because the Muslim Brotherhood's not in power.
Well, exactly, and it is all in line with what he's been doing consistently. He's been helping Al-Qaeda rebels in Libya, also in Syria. He's been helping the Muslim Brotherhood oust a friend of the United States and Israel in Mubarak. And now, obviously the people who were in favor of Morsi have kind of, taken a step back and said, wait, we weren't signing up for an Islamic theocracy. And meanwhile, the military was the very military Mubarak used to actually tamp down the Muslim Brotherhood.
You know what's so tragic and sad? That even how we talk about this as givens, like the way that you're just talking about this person, Obama, it sounds like some kind of evil dictator on an island somewhere that hates America. And this is actually the President of the United States. It's the creepiest times we live in. Jen, you have been very nobly and stoically silent. It is your turn as the new California PolitChick on the show.
Okay. I mean, going back, all I can think about is Muslim Brotherhood, the connection. I mean, we have known way back before this incident in Egypt that the connection was there. I mean, the fact that the president is, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's hard to sort of dance around the fact that, he's just friends with the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, it's hard for me to hold back thinking what I really think. Mm-hmm. Just friends?
Yeah, and in many respects in our society, Jen, we're almost not allowed to jump to certain of these, whatever speculation you may be thinking. But let's put it this way. If Obama was not, let's say, a Muslim, not that there's anything wrong with that, or if he wasn't involved with the Muslim Brotherhood somehow, what worse job could he possibly be doing? Do you see what I'm saying? What's worse that he could be doing to be empowering the Muslim Brotherhood?
But it's obvious that he caters. He has been the whole time. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the PC thing. It isn't. It's obvious because every single time, everything, it's like this chain connection. Mm-hmm. Everything always goes back to the Muslim Brotherhood. Everything. I mean, just about everything does. And he caters to.
Yeah, and when he came to power in the 2009 speech in Cairo, front two rows, Muslim Brotherhood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it was a great point that was made about the Green Revolution in Iran. He didn't support the one revolution that was pro-democracy and pro-Western.
And they were begging for Obama. They begged him. They were actually in the streets. What do you help us? Help us. Tell us what you think. And he avoided it and said, we respect you. That was an astonishing comment.
Okay, Glazov gang members, let us move on to a very strange trial. George Zimmerman. I don't know. I'm not really too sure why this man is Hey, look, it's a tragic. A 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was killed. We all know that. But I think that this was a race-based trial, that the Holder and the Justice Department pushed this thing through, listening to Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and et cetera, and the prosecution case looks like it's falling apart. And at the same time, now it appears that we're preparing for riots, maybe even larger than the Rodney King riots, as some kind of revenge attack or whatever. What do you make of this whole trial? Let's begin with you, Jen.
Well, I mean, it's so obvious that it is all about race. I mean, not surprising. And, I mean, the whole entire trial has always been, you know, first of all, the tiptoeing, as we all know. Mm-hmm. We have to tiptoe. And it's always, you know, if you're not, and there's no other way to say it. Basically, if you're non-white, then you could go ahead and say whatever you want to, anything racial, even racist, and it's okay. You get away with it.
Well, let me ask you this. So Trayvon Martin's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend that was on the stand, and she's talking about, I think, that she's saying that Trayvon had said there's a creepy-ass cracker following me. And then she said that this is not a racial term afterwards, even though she said, excuse me for saying it. And then she called the lawyer, I think, retarded, or what he's saying retarded. It's very interesting that if Ann Coulter uses that word, or if conservatives use that word, they're attacked. But these words, cracker or retarded, somehow, and Alec Baldwin, for instance, recently making anti-gay statements. The liberals, or we could say, quote-unquote, oppressed groups, are allowed to say these words.
Yeah,
Jen?
exactly. That's the problem. It's a double standard. As a conservative, if you dare say anything that would be construed as whether it's racist or derogatory or whatnot, then you are thrown against the wall.
Jen, how do you think what'll happen? What'll be the verdict, do you think? And what will...
I don't know. It's hard to say. I hate the whole idea of justice being served and not any influences whatsoever. It's extremely difficult for me to believe that that's going to be the case. And that may sound like a assumptive attitude. I mean, seriously, it's...
Okay. Tiffany, Zimmerman trial?
I think it's a lose-lose because if he's acquitted, there will be riots. I think equal,
there will
if
be,
not
right?
absolutely equal or not worse than Rodney King, because now Zimmerman has become the poster child for virulent racism, and Trayvon has been used by all of these special interest groups.
And there's all these tweets they say of a lot of members of the African American community saying, "I'm going to go kill a white person or kill a white person if Zimmerman gets off."
Absolutely.
Et cetera, right?
So that I guarantee you that's going to happen. Or they might just end up pressuring Zimmerman into pleading guilty to a lesser charge. It depends on just how corrupt and how influential some of the special interest groups are. But I find it hard to believe that justice will be served. What do you
think justice is in this case?
That's a good question.
What do you think about the prosecution's case?
Well, they're trying to prove that he was a racist, and I think that's very difficult to prove. I think that's impossible. You can't know what's in a person's heart, especially if there's no prior history of him having, demonstrated any kind of
What
racism.
I find interesting, Andrew McCarthy made a great point in one of his pieces the other day. Why would a person who wants to kill somebody call the police right before they did it?
That's true.
Dwight, your wisdom on this.
Well, you just mentioned Andrew McCarthy, who I told you earlier. I agree with him almost all of the time. And I've been amused that many of the commentators can't figure out why the prosecution is having a hard time, when if you go back to that period after the incident, there were no charges brought. And the lead detective and the chief of police had to resign because they didn't bring charges. And they were forced to bring charges by the politicians in that in that district. And the real criminality here is because they didn't have the guts. They have now forced 6 women to prevent riots. That is, to me, intolerable. To me, it is intolerable to say to these people, you do it. You stop the riots from happening, because that's exactly what has transpired.
It's
And
incredible, too.
infuriating.
But, Dwight, what MSNBC was even doing when the whole thing broke out, they were doctoring
Doctoring the tapes.
the tapes,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then they were pretending that Zimmerman was actually white for actually quite a period of time.
And that's too because of Sharpton. You know, he was just on MSNBC. He had a show, and they were trying to hot him up. And I'm going to tell you that too. It's all so disgusting.
And Jen?
It makes me so sick because Sharpton, I mean, he's like the mascot of let's take this and make this all about race and let's exploit it. And it's like an advantageous situation for them. It's like I feel like they're just chomping at the bit to take something like this, which is really disgusting in more ways than one because they're exploiting. And they're using race.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Dwight, when you said, okay, so the 6 women
Are now going to be
the
judge.
people,
Yeah.
and basically have the power to.
You know, another thing that just gets me is that all the victims of black-on-black violence, don't they matter? All the victims of black-on-white violence or black-on-Spanish violence, we don't know any of these people's names. We could have so many programs on this. Why? I'm not saying that Trayvon Martin's name should not be known, but there are so many other names. How about even honor-killing victims in the United States?
There's money being made from this.
Look at what's going on in
Tiffany?
Chicago. Literally like a dozen kids a day, a week are getting completely gunned down in Chicago. No one ever talks. Obama's hometown, no less.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about it.
And Tiffany, why does no one ever talk about it? Why does the media not talk about it?
Because it's inconvenient. It doesn't fit their narrative. I actually did an entire series of reports on black crime and black violence, and literally the death tolls amount to actually more than we've had casualties in war. It's insane, and yet nobody talks about it because why would they? That would be racist to actually acknowledge that.
And I just wonder where Jesse
Racist.
Jackson and Al Sharpton when blacks are killed by blacks.
Because it makes
Or
them
when-
it makes
yeah.
them irrelevant. Their whole job, their whole life and livelihood is based on race baiting.
It doesn't fit their racist agenda.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Can we not tiptoe? I mean,
Yeah.
it's bigotry. I mean, come on. And
Liberals practicing bigotry, unbelievable.
yeah, it's part of
Glazov gang members, all good things must come to an end, including the first segment of the Glazov gang. We'll be back for the second segment in just a moment.